Good day, everyone. This is Chris with the Ancient Scholar. I hope you guys are doing well. It is about 5:30. Just finished the 3 o'clock movie. It is June 8th, and of course June 8th is a day that probably many of us have been waiting for, at least in the United States, and that is for the premiere, for the introduction of Prometheus to the American crowds. Of course, Prometheus has been available in the theater in Europe for about a week now, so we've gotten some reviews out of Europe. I really haven't tried to stay away from a lot of the reviews, simply because I really didn't want any spoilers, and that's, I did the one trailer review a few months ago, I think in April, it was, it was around December actually, so it was a while ago, and I really haven't tried to stay away from a lot of the Prometheus stuff because, you get a lot of spoilers, and a lot of plot points, and a lot of stuff released. I have been on Rotten Tomatoes and looked at the tomato meter. I believe it's around 75%. What that tells me, at least from the critic standpoint, is that it generally seems to be a good movie, but there's clearly some mixed reviewage going on there. So let me go ahead and throw my 2 cents in here. I will warn you guys, this is probably going to have some spoilers in it. So if you haven't seen Prometheus and you do want to see it, I would recommend that you probably not watch this video, because I will have some spoilers now that the video is open to a worldwide audience. So let's just go ahead and break Prometheus down point by point. I'll start at the first point, at least on my list, and that is the score. The music, I thought the music was very good. It was appropriate. I didn't really have any issues at all with the score, so I think they scored the film very well. Moving on to the visuals. This is, I think, probably most people, even people that didn't necessarily like the movie, would agree. This is a visually stunning movie. I saw this 3D, obviously. It's filmed in 3D. I think the 3D was done very well, and it wasn't necessarily overdone, and the 3D wasn't real gimmicky. You didn't have these a lot of these real stupid opportunities that they throw into movies just to show off the 3D. I think the 3D felt very organic and well integrated into the movie, and as it well should be, because it was filmed in 3D. So I think there's an incredibly good use of 3D. Visually, the film was stunning, absolutely stunning. I really felt like this was a tangible universe when I was watching this movie. I really felt that it was a part of the movie. It was so well integrated into this universe, and it was just visually stunning. I really don't have a whole lot else to say. Very, very sci-fi-ish. If you really like the sci-fi genre, it's going to have a lot of science fiction visuals, and a lot of what you see, it just really feels organic to that universe. It doesn't feel gimmicky. Obviously, Scott is well known for his use of more practical effects, and tries to stay away from CG, and I think that really is probably the case in this movie as well. Is it really felt like a lot of practical effects were used. There's a little bit of CG, certainly toward the end of the movie. There was some CG used, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. So visually, I have to say this is an absolutely stunning movie. Let's move on to the actors. And I think there probably will be a little bit of disagreement here, and I think probably some people will disagree with me, but I'll go ahead and throw out at least how I thought. The acting, I think, was a mixed bag, and I don't know that it was necessarily the acting, but perhaps more of some script issues that I had, and I'm not saying that made the film bad overall for me, bad experience, but I think that the acting was there was some disparity. I suppose the way I saw it, there was some incredible standout performances, and then there were some other performances that it just kind of seemed that those particular actors were just there, basically there to die. They were cannon fodder for what was to occur, and I'll talk about that a little bit here in a little bit more detail. But So I think there was definitely some standout acting that occurred here. Obviously, Michael Fassbender was incredible for the way that he played the android. Obviously, he was incredible. He played a very, very good android. The facial expressions that he made, the way that he spoke, his little subtle mannerisms really sold me. I thought he was one of the standout performances of the movie, as do probably a lot of people. Noomi Rapace playing the main character, I actually thought that she did an incredibly good job. I know some people didn't really like her character and her character development, but I thought she did just an incredibly good job. And I think a lot of people kind of make these parallels to the Ripley in Alien, and first of all, I think that maybe it would be better to look at this as a standalone movie than to compare it to Alien. What happened in Alien? Now that was kind of a prototype for some of the modern sci-fi horror, and some of the things that were done in Alien, that was the very first time those things had ever been done. So the Alien was a revolutionary movie. It revolutionized the way that we look at sci-fi horror. And to compare some of these contemporary movies to Alien, I don't know is necessarily the best thing to do, because a lot of things have already been done. They've already been said, they've already been done. And I don't think that Prometheus is a revolutionary movie. It didn't revolutionize the genre for me. With that said, I don't think it was a bad movie either. Okay, so kind of going back to Noomi Rapace's character, I think she did a great job. She started out as a person that had kind of this, I would say, a naive worldview, if you will, very, very naive, almost childlike way of looking at the universe, and that belief basically gets crushed, or definitely gets tested throughout the movie, and in spite of perhaps things not necessarily working out the way you think they do in life, she kind of succeeds and ends up doing some very, very harrowing things. There's a scene that is just very harrowing, and basically she has it's kind of like a battlefield surgery machine perform a C-section on her, and she really is kind of transforms throughout the movie, but she's not really a Ripley, and I don't think it would be fair to kind of look at her as Ripley. Ripley, to me, Ripley was already a pretty hard human being. I got that feel from Alien, that she was already a pretty tough individual. Very pragmatic, had a very strong sense of, survival, of, the reality of the situation, and Ripley already had that. Ripley was a very mature character right off the bat, going into Alien. Ripley didn't change, okay? There was no change that occurred with her. She was, pretty much a pretty hard individual when we got to know her, and throughout Alien and Aliens, and then I didn't really look at all the other stuff as the genre kind of fell apart there after Aliens, at least in my humble opinion. So Noomi Rapace really played kind of somebody who changes significantly and becomes a very different person by the end of the movie, and I thought she pulled that off very believably, and she was emotionally probably a bit more vulnerable than the Ripley character as well. Let's see here. Idris Elba, actually I thought he did a good job. He played, you got to really know what he was all about at the end of the movie, and kind of maybe that kind of resonates with me a little bit, in spite of some of the things that we've seen happen in the real world, and some of the sacrifices people make, and he made the ultimate sacrifice for the world. And I really thought he kind of brought kind of he felt a bit more panned out than some of the peripheral characters, because he was kind of a peripheral character. He wasn't really a part of the main plot point, but he was probably one of the better developed of the peripheral characters, and I really enjoyed kind of kind of the humor and the you know, kind of the genuine humanity that he brought to the movie. Charlize Theron played, didn't do bad. She played a pretty straightforward role, I thought, as, you know, kind of a cold, calculating character. Of course, we find out she has a very interesting agenda, which is kind of an interesting thing that occurs with Wayland and who plays Wayland, and hopefully we all know that at this point. The characters, the acting was generally pretty good, but there were some standouts. There were a few people that just really stood out and kind of outshined the whole cast, and so it did feel a little, you know, there's some disparity there. The plot, probably the first half of the movie, the plot was really tight, incredibly good plot. Just really had me thinking. The movie was really going in a really nice direction, and then it kind of, once the alien contact happened, it kind of got a little muddled up. Not to say it was bad. It was a pretty straightforward plot. Basically, you know, we find you know, we have some information that something's going on somewhere in the universe. We go there. And when we get there, bad stuff happens, and that, you know, that's a plot. There's nothing particularly revolutionary about the plot. It's a pretty standard plot. I will say there are some interesting plot holes, I suppose. Now, certainly this not on line with, you know, say something like Mass Effect 3, where you could fly a spaceship through some of the plot holes in Mass Effect 3. You know, it was nothing as disappointing as that, but there were some interesting decisions that some of the characters made that kind of made you go, I wonder why the individual did that. I wonder why you know, what happened there. And it almost kind of had this B horror feel to it, in that, you know, you have these characters that, you know, in spite of everyone in the universe knowing better, they go and do something really stupid, and you know, as kind of like, you know, these people are you know, these people are doctors and, you know, biologists and this and that, and they're acting kind of weird. And there was a kind of a weird plot point that happened with Michael Fassbender. He basically exposed another character to a contaminant, and it just really, now that I've thought about it a little bit, it's kind of like, I don't really understand the rationale for why that had to happen, or what, you know, the way the movie was set up, it was almost like, well, Michael Fassbender was you know, perhaps angry with the character, or you know, perhaps there's some adversarial things going on, but you know, then they kept going back to, well, he's a robot, he's programmed, and so, you know, was he programmed to do this? And then by, you know, doing that, you know, it basically impregnated another character with this little critter. But then, you know, if you knew that all along, then, you know, that tells me that, you know, well, that maybe they've already been to this planet, and you know, maybe they already have an idea of what's going on. But then at the end of the movie, you know, when, you know, Wayland is there, and Wayland doesn't seem to have an idea. It really is a big inconsistency for me. And there's also another part where characters are interacting with this new life form that looked pretty threatening to me. I thought, you know, it was this big cobra looking thing. And I just thought, wow, why did they do that? I mean, that was now, I have to admit, you know, what followed was a pretty interesting scene, you know, pretty amusing and shocking, but it just wasn't quite as tight as I had liked. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off now, and then I'll kind of give my overall impression in the next video, just because we're getting close to that 15-minute mark. Okay, guys, as always, thanks for hanging in there.